All right, welcome to Wathc Sports for tonight's March Madness Watch Party. We are underway here and going to be bringing you live fan reaction and analysis as the brackets get announced. If you'd like to join us up here on Zoom, go ahead and comment Zoom in the YouTube chat, and I will drop you the link to come on and join us. I see Alvin is here today. And let's just listen in and see who is going where in these brackets.
He'll try to repeat his national chance against a coach who actually did it as an assistant at Florida. That's Donnie Jones, who has Stetson in the tournament for the first time ever. That's why they're celebrating after 53 years in Division I. Watch out for Jalen
Stetson, Florida, first time ever in. Wow.
34.
I always root for our Florida teams.
The Sun. These are games in Brooklyn, by the way.
FAU Northwestern.
Florida Atlantic, the magical run to the Final Four a year ago and returned nearly all of their stars from that team. They are in as an at-large from the American Athletic Conference. They will face Northwestern, the 9 seed here, Seth.
Two bubble teams in that 8-9 game. They are really happy. Northwestern
San Diego State.
The NCAA tournament before Chris Collins got there. I will tell you, there's going to be a lot of conversation about FAU getting an 8. I had them in. I don't know too many people who had FAU that high. They had a great season. That's a very healthy seed.
All right, these are all Friday games, and now we go from Brooklyn to we find the 5 seed is San Diego State. Last year's national runner-up, making their 4th straight appearance. They will face the 12 seed UAB in their first year in the American Athletic Conference, winning the conference tournament earlier today. Way to go, Blazers. The 4 seed in Spokane, the Auburn Tigers, fresh off winning the SEC tournament earlier today. Their opponent, the 13 seed Yale, who got a buzzer beater from Matt Noling at the buzzer to represent the Ivy League for the 3rd time in 4 years.
How come an easy matchup for
Illinois and UConn, right? Is this still the East?
Handle pressure. All right, we go to the bottom half of the East region.
Yeah. For your reward for winning the Big Ten, you get in, you get UConn.
BYU, their first season in the Big Ten, highlighted by an 8-point win at Kansas. They will face the 11 seed, the Duquesne Dukes, who are dancing for the first time since 1977, winning the Atlantic 10 championship as a 6 seed earlier today. The 3 seed in Omaha, Illinois. How good did they look?
Oh, man, they were super impressive and a dangerous, dangerous team. When this team decides to defend, they've got everything they need to win a national championship.
Including Terrence Shannon Jr., who had 40 points in the Big Ten tournament semifinal. The 14 seed here, Morehead State, the first team to earn a spot. Feels like forever ago, a program record 26 wins. Yeah, Illinois, you know your opponent now.
I think this is a pretty easy bracket so far for UConn.
Smart basketball players. We stay in Omaha for more games on Thursday and Saturday, where we find the 7th seed is Washington.
Oh, until they put Iowa State in there.
For the first time since 2008.
Kyle Smith's done a phenomenal job out there, and they're feeling good. They've had an excellent year. This is a team very disciplined.
There goes a lot of people's sleepers. They put Iowa State, Illinois, and UConn all in one bracket.
The Drake Bulldogs.
Yeah, there's going to be some teams that's going to have a difficult time making it out.
Tucker, back to back.
A lot of people were picking Iowa State or Illinois for the Final Four after a good week this week.
State, who tore through the Big 12 tournament set.
So this is one of the mysteries about whether Iowa State would be a 1 seed there or a 2 seed, but the NCAA bracketing principle says that the overall number 5 cannot be with the overall number 1. That means Iowa State was not even the top number 2 seed. Bit of a surprise.
After an amazing performance.
And that's in Boston. That's a home field advantage for UConn.
Lack of strength of non-conference. The committee has been adamant about making that a strong contingency for strong criteria for top seed lines.
And their opponents, who are in for the 2nd time in 3 years, South Dakota State, the Summit League champs. So as we zoom out and
hey, if you're watching us on YouTube and want to hop up here and join us, we'd love to have you. I'm going to drop the Zoom link.
San Diego
we'll be
State
going around the
was
horn
last
getting
ever
takes on this.
Final Four.
That's right. The San
last
Diego
year.
State got there as a 5 seed last
That's
year.
exactly right. So, they're a very strong team, but I think this sets up very well.
If
for
you're
you.
here on Zoom, I'm
Looking
going to
at
drop the
potential
YouTube link
UConn.
in the chat. If you could pull that up in another browser, that'll help
No
us.
need to have a shot clock in that one. That's going to be a high flying affair. I think this sets up great for the Huskies.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. I actually love this Florida Atlantic team to possibly make another run, but against a team like UConn, if in fact they get by Northwestern,
Yeah,
would be
FAU
a
got
tall
screwed.
task. And we want to go to the bottom of this bracket now. I tell you what, Illinois has been so impressive. But keep an eye, folks, on Morehead State. They got one of the best players in the country, and Riley Minix. He's a terrific 21-10 guy, and that team is really balanced. Love what Washington State has done, and obviously Iowa
Washington State got
they're
knocked
on
out of the
two line
Pac-10
against
tournament
pretty
early. I
good
don't
South
think
Dakota
they're
State
hot.
team.
Listen to my man when he talks about Morehead State. He calls these teams. If you really like execution, smart, intelligent basketball, this Washington State great game with two outstanding coaches, disciplined teams. They're going to run really good offensive stuff. Young coaches, get your note cards out for that game. That's going to be a great one. All right, one region done. A quarter of the 68-team field is set, which leaves dozens of teams across the country, including James Madison, Grambling State, New Mexico.
Commercial break here. Let's get some takes from this. Anybody have any reactions to that? What are you seeing there, Alvin? Oh, I'm not hearing you. You're on mute.
I was projecting to see Colorado State get in there at least at a 9 seed, and they didn't even make it.
Well, right now we're
into
just
the
doing that East bracket.
Yeah, but they were projected to be in the East.
Oh, well, they'll probably
Um,
just end up somewhere else. Let's just focus on the teams that are actually in there. That's all we know for sure at this point.
But yeah, this East bracket so far is very difficult for teams that were aspiring to make it to the Final Four to have to battle through UConn. You got Illinois. I would have had them picked with their performance this week and with all the stuff that Deshaun Wagner's been going through, junior. So it's going to be difficult in that East bracket.
Yeah, let me see if we can find it. Does anyone know a site that's showing it live? I'd love to have it up on the screen as we talk about it here. But yeah, I to me, Iowa State, I mean, they looked as good as anybody pounding Houston. So that's a tough draw for UConn. FAU with everyone back from last year's Final Four teams, that's a tough draw for UConn. Oh yeah, CBS has it live. Thank you guys. Let's see if we can
It might. I'm not sure, Greg. That's just the first one that popped up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, so those are some tough, and then Illinois, who just won the Big Ten, is in there too. So those four teams, the rest of the bracket, I was not impressed with. But those four teams, I think, are four teams to be reckoned. All four of those could have been one of my final four picks based on where they went. Now I only can get one of them in. Jeremiah, what's your initial reactions to that?
I'm projecting. I like the Illinois BYU matchup in the Saturday Sunday slate this weekend. That would be a good matchup. Other than that, I like UConn to roll to the Elite Eight at least, and take on the winner of that Iowa State Illinois BYU group right there.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of BYU. They have some impressive wins, but that was over Kansas when Kansas had all these injuries. They got knocked out to Texas Tech. I think in my opinion, I don't know if I'd pick them to go out first round, but I don't have a lot of faith in them to get through that weekend. All right, let's they're queuing up to do the next bracket here. Let's listen in, and then if anyone can find it live online, let me know. Because I didn't see that site populating that Will sent us.
Yeah, it wasn't.
But let's listen in here as they're coming back for the next bracket.
And welcome back to the NCAA Men's Basketball Championship Selection Show. Let's get right back to the reveal of the tournament brackets from the NCAA and its corporate champion, AT&T. Our attention now is on the upper right quadrant, where Houston is the second overall #1 seed, and they head to the South Region destination Dallas.
Do not worry. They will be inspired by that blowout loss to Iowa State. Kelvin Sampson will have them primed, ready to go.
Blowout losses only count for one loss too. They don't do aggregates.
I think their fans will make the trip to Dallas, by the way.
Yes, first they have to get through 2 games in Memphis, starting against the Longwood Lancers, Big South champions, coached by Griff Aldrich. The 8-9 game in Memphis on Friday features Nebraska. Their first NCAA tournament since 2014, still looking for their first all-time win, and these guys can shoot.
That's not it.
Basketball, they run a beautiful offense, and they got a number of guys that can make shots.
They say Tamanaga, one of them, and they will be matched up with the 9 seed here, Texas A&M, with some big wins down the stretch, Seth.
Texas A&M supposedly a bubble team.
Yeah,
Nine-
comfortably in there,
nine
right,
is a
Seth?
healthy team.
Yeah.
I'm not real surprised.
Texas
They were
A&M.
one of those teams. A lot of really good wins, a lot of bad
I like them
losses.
there. That could be a tough matchup for Houston.
Tournament clearly put them in.
Yeah, 2 wins over Kentucky this year, as well as 1 over Tennessee. All right, now to Friday in Brooklyn on Friday and Sunday, where we find Wisconsin, who just fell in the Big Ten championship game, but this is the highest scoring Wisconsin team since 1994. They just beat Purdue.
Yeah, they did, and they have actually played exceptionally well. They had a great start to the season. Hit a little
Tough
bit
draw
of
for
a-
Wisconsin. They'll run into Houston in the second
An
round.
interesting matchup coming up, partner.
Let's see who it is. The 12th
I don't like Duke so much this year.
James Madison, 31 and
Who are they
3.
getting?
First time since 23.
One of 4 teams with at least.
There might be some upsets here.
This team has a dynamic duo in Terrence Edwards Jr. and TJ Bickerstaff. Excellent defensive team. That will be a heck of a matchup and a tough one for the Badgers.
I spy a 12-5 upset coming here. I'm taking the Dukes in this one, everybody.
They do enter the tournament on a nation's best 13-game winning streak. And from the Dukes, the 4 seed, we go to the Duke right here, the Blue Devils. The national champ as a player, John Shire, now in his 2nd year as head coach after replacing Coach K. They are coming to Brooklyn, where they will face the 13 seed Vermont Catamounts, the 13th seed.
Duke gets
East
Vermont.
champs,
I don't think
coached
I
by
can
John
go Vermont.
Becker.
That'd be a
So
big
we go to the
upset.
bottom half here of the South Region, and games in Pittsburgh.
That's not going to be easy for Houston,
And
man.
Saturday, the 6th seed is Texas Tech.
The 8 seed,
Brent
8 or
McCaskey
9
making
seed.
his first NCAA tournament appearance as Texas Tech head coach. They are matched up with NC State, and what a run they went on.
NC State,
5
man,
wins
they
in
look
5
so good.
games, including over their 2 in-state rivals to win the ACC championship.
Dude, they look great all weekend, actually.
Mhm.
I think they might have spent all their energy though.
They got to regroup.
Probably. Hey, they got a few days to rest. They might be able to get out of the first round. I don't like them getting real far.
Well, they'll probably have to practice one of those days.
Yeah, they had that
Yeah, no.
big, beefy guy though, man. He looked unstoppable.
Still celebrating their first conference tournament title
Mm-hmm.
in 1987. And how about the 3 seed here? Kentucky. They didn't play at full strength until
Yeah.
March, Clark.
Yeah, that's right. And they are a dangerous team. As a matter of fact, I actually spy a chance to move them to my Final Four without even seeing the rest of the bracket.
All right. Well, let's see who they're
Kentucky,
facing.
yeah, it seems like a good draw. They'd get Texas Tech or NC State in the
3-14
second
matchup
round.
in Pittsburgh. Okay, now we go to the 7-10 matchups in Indianapolis on Friday. The 7 seed, the Gators, who lead the nation in rebounding.
Gators
They
look
did
great
lose
this
key
week.
big man Micah Hanlogton earlier today to a leg fracture. We wish him a speedy recovery. And then here's where it gets interesting. Boise State and Colorado will meet in Dayton on the 10 line.
So Colorado bubble team played their way in with that win over Washington State. I am very surprised to see Boise State in the first 4. That means they were one of the last 4 in, even though they had a healthy number of quad 1, went 6 and 5 in quad 1, 27 in the net, and you're one of the last 4 in. Very interesting.
And you wondered if Colorado's lost to Oregon in the Pac-12 championship.
Then you wonder if the squeezing of the bubble created that.
And, all right, let's see the 2 seed in Indianapolis on Friday, and it is Marquette. Coach Shaka Smart and company awaiting the return.
Marquette, they got a lot of injuries.
See Marquette still keep that 2 seed. They made a good run, and
They did. That's right, Jay. They sure did.
Tyler Toler. Now they get them back. They deserve a 2 seed.
And who will they face in Indy? The 15 seed Western Kentucky. Steve Lutz stuck the landing in his first season at Western Kentucky to get the Hilltoppers into the tournament for the first time since 2013. So as we slide back up to the top of this region, Clark, is there a team or a matchup that stands out?
Yeah, that first one we talked about, the 12-5. I mean, James Madison, I've watched them a bunch this season. They're really good. Defensively, they can mix it up. Offensively, they got a nice inside-outside combination. One of the highest scoring teams in the country. So this is and Wisconsin is playing excellent basketball. I'm really looking forward to that matchup particularly.
That
Texas
one works, Greg.
in an 8-9 game with Nebraska. Nebraska needs that first win, and they got stuck with Texas A&M, who is sizzling hot since they put Manny Obaseki in the starting lineup. If we move down now to the rest of the bracket there, I'll tell you one thing. Kentucky is really interesting to me. John Calipari is one of the coaches that has always been known as a defensive coach. Has kind of changed and gone offense. There's a couple teams in the tournament like that, Alabama. How far can it take them? I think it could take them to at least Sweet 16 against Marquette, then see what they got defensively at that point.
I just want to go on record. I've got James Madison in the Sweet 16. Again, I'm surprised to see Boise State as a 10. The big question on this side of the bracket is the health of Tyler Cole.
Yes, no doubt.
But either way, the way that Kentucky plays, it gets up and down the floor. I know Florida's got an injury issue too.
Yeah.
But Kolek to me is a big-time X factor in this tournament and certainly in this side of the bracket.
A lot of high-powered offenses who will have to potentially get through a very good defense in the Houston Cougars as well. So the weight is.
All right, it's going to a commercial. Let's see if this is updating. Will
It is.
send me one, but it doesn't have it in a bracket, so it's not as makes it kind of harder to look at it. It'd be ideal to have one that's kind of filling out live here. I found one that has the first bracket. Hopefully it updates in a second here with the other bracket.
What do we think of the Nebraska? Could Nebraska or TCU like do something, or Texas A&M do something with Houston, or no? I think there's always going to be a good chance an 8 seed could beat a 1. So you got to find where that could happen.
Yeah, I mean, taking a 1 to lose early is risky. If you guess the wrong one, you're out.
Yeah.
I don't even know for sure. I guess, all right, so on the screen here, we have what they just gave us. This is Houston's bracket. Texas A&M, I like them over Nebraska. Tomorrow we're going to do a much deeper dive into all this. At this point, we just want to get some initial reactions here. Prior to Houston getting thrown, prior to this weekend, Houston has been my pick to win it all. I mean, they've been number 1. They've been a team ascending. They're in the Big 12. This has made me a little cautious seeing them get blown out by Iowa State, but that was kind of a home game for them. Let's see who else is in here. So Wisconsin, we just heard the analyst saying they're picking James Madison to the Sweet 16. I don't agree with that. They would have to beat Wisconsin and Duke to get there. I think we'll have Wisconsin, Duke there, and I like Wisconsin in that. I think
like Kentucky a lot.
Wisconsin, I could see Wisconsin giving Houston a tough game. I mean, Wisconsin's been playing great. We'll have to hear from Alex, our Wisconsin guy, tomorrow. Let's look at this Kentucky bracket. Jeremiah, what do you think of their draw?
I like our chances to cruise to the Elite 8. That Houston game's going to be tough. North Carolina State been playing well, but I would like our chances against them or Texas Tech. The Florida suffered a major injury today. I'm sure we all seen. That was gruesome. And then Marquette's a good team.
They would put you don't usually see 2 SEC teams in there like that. They must have a lot of SEC teams that made it.
Yeah, I think probably 6 or 7 will make it. We'll see.
Wow. So, and then Marquette, I don't know if they're back to full strength yet. We'll have to look that up tomorrow. If they
any big surprises, like any teams that we didn't think were going to make it yet, or not really?
Well, no, we haven't seen the whole bracket yet, so let's hold off on that conversation until we get to it.
They said Boise State.
I feel like now the analysts do such a good job of last 4 in and first 4 out that it's like they took out some of the drama and surprise of who's going to get, out or not. But it never goes exactly the same way they expect it to go. Let's see if this.
Yeah, but it's not a lot of change. It might be one team they said was out over one team in. You're right. The drama over that portion is gone with guys like Joe Lunardi.
Yeah, he's so good at predicting it.
Yeah, he is.
Here's this first one in full bracket form here.
Auburn and Illinois is going to be interesting if they play each other.
Well, we already saw where Illinois went here, right?
Yeah,
They're not
Auburn.
in there with
Oh, they
Auburn.
got to play Iowa State. Okay.
Yeah, they're not in there with Auburn. All right, let's listen in for this next bracket here. This will be the Midwest with Purdue as the number one coming up next.
As evidence, the top seed was victorious in just 11 of the 32 conference tournaments. Halfway through the bracket now, many conference champs still wondering where they'll be slotted and who they will play. And so back to the brackets now from the NCAA and its corporate champion, Capital One. We are in the Midwest region now, the lower right quadrant, where the Purdue Boilermakers are the third number one seed. And of course, this is Zach Edey's last ride. Just became Purdue's all-time leading scorer Saturday in the conference semifinal classic, won by Wisconsin. They will face the winner from Wednesday's matchup at the first four in Dayton between Montana State, the Big Sky champs, and Grambling State making their first NCAA tournament.
Yeah, congratulations to the Tigers of Grambling State. And
So Purdue gets to play a play-in team. I don't get that. I would think UConn should get the
gets that ticket.
winner of this playing game.
Champions. Congratulations to Grambling State. Now to Friday in Indianapolis, where we find the 8 seed Utah State, who in Danny Sprinkle's first season returning 0 points from last year's tournament team. They won the Mountain West regular season title, and they've got a guy named Great Osabor. Better watch out. The 8 seed against the 9 seed, and the 9 seed will be TCU.
TCU and Utah State. I don't know much about those two teams, but that seems like an easy draw for Purdue compared to what everybody else got.
And athletic, and they've got great guards. It's going to be a tough matchup for Utah State.
Now we have Thursday games here as well in Salt Lake City. The 5 seed is Gonzaga.
Gonzaga, wow, that seems high for them.
Here, as they embark against the 12 seed that nobody wants to face. Mark.
Hey, I mentioned there are 4 teams that have won 30 games in the country. They're one
McNeese.
30, JMU won 31, Houston won 30, and
I know nothing about them.
this team is legit. Shahade
You gonna know about McNeese.
carry a team, but they defend. They're athletic.
Yeah, I was not impressed with Gonzaga in their conference tournament.
Full matchup for the Zags.
And then they put Kansas in there. Wow, that's an easy bracket for Purdue.
Yeah.
Normally, I don't like to pick Purdue, but against those teams,
Kansas.
That's a cakewalk to the Elite Eight.
yeah, they're like setting it up for them.
Samford, who is in for the first time.
Unless Kansas has all their players back.
And get ready, Kansas. You're about to face Buckyball.
Buckyball, high octane, a lot of threes made. Sure. Remember that name, folks. Outstanding forward. This team is deep, plays a fast pace. That'll be a challenge for a kind of depleted Kansas
When you're
team.
looking for a Cinderella pick, don't dismiss McNeese. That's a 30-win team right there, 30-3. And it's a Will Wade team who took LSU to the NCAA.
On Thursday, starting with South Carolina.
I like Oregon, man. They've been hot. If you're looking for a sleeper team, they ran the Pac-12 conference.
Second, and it's their first tournament.
They're an 11 seed here.
17, Lamont Paris, the SEC Coach of the Year. And they will face the 11 seed who clinched it last night, the Oregon Ducks, winning the final Pac-12 tournament to get the automatic bid. The 3 seed in the Midwest region is Creighton, who tied a program record with 14 Big East wins.
This is
Creighton,
the
they just
toughest
got
match.
knocked out early in their tournament too.
Creighton's a dangerous team too, and as a 3 seed, that's good because they avoid the 1 seed later in the tournament.
Yeah, that's right.
Meet them as early. Creighton can make a run here as a 3.
And they will face the 14 seed Akron after a wild ending in the Mid-American Conference Championship game. Akron is in what was heartbreak for Kent State. Now, first and second round games in Charlotte, North Carolina. On Thursday, Texas is the 7 seed behind Rodney Terry, and they will face another first 4
I didn't even think
winner
Texas was
on the
good this
deadline
year.
between Virginia and Colorado State.
Wow, I'm surprised Virginia got in.
The first 4. I'll tell you
Me
what,
too.
wasn't buying the whole Mountain West love. I don't know anybody who had Colorado State this low, not to mention I talked about Boise State to 10 and the regular season champ, Utah State in 8. Interesting choices.
It sure is. But who's the 2 seed in Charlotte, North Carolina? Not too far from Knoxville. The Tennessee Volunteers.
Oh, Tennessee.
In the NCAA,
Dang.
led by
All they got to do is beat Purdue to get the Final Four. I like that.
Mhm.
Dolphin Connect all again.
They might have to play South Carolina again. Maybe
I don't think South Carolina will get out of
South
the
Carolina or Creighton.
I don't know. I think that's a pretty easy bracket.
Yeah.
The darlings of the 2022 tournament are back with fresh feathers. As we move back to the top of this region here, Jay, what draws your attention?
One thing I have to say about Gonzaga, everybody was saying, oh, what's wrong with Gonzaga? They're not going to make the tournament. They're a 5 seed. This is the 24th consecutive tournament they've been in. Only Michigan State and Kansas have made more consecutive tournament runs. That's incredible.
It really is. That's a remarkable feat by those programs.
And I got to tell you, that matchup. Now, what do they get rewarded? They get McNeese, your team at Will Wade, who is a brutal first round.
Yeah, I like.
We'll have to look into that
Their
McNeese
speed
team.
How they Wells is a real problem.
And
At that
McNeese
I
is
know. I was
30 and
making me second guess myself already.
They're 30-3, 17-1 in the Southland Conference in Will Wade's first year
Yeah,
of
but have they
coaching.
played anybody? I mean, you can win 30 games. That doesn't impress me unless you know.
They played some very good games this year against great opponents.
So let's see who would be the 2 and 1 seed in the last bracket. Let's see if we could guess it.
Well, let's stay on what's here so far, and just see if anybody has any reactions to what's out instead of guessing what is coming, because it'll be coming in just a minute. Who do you guys like out of that bracket? I really hate to pick Purdue. I feel like they're really setting it up for us, though.
I'm gonna go with Tennessee. Quickly looking. Again, I'm here Southeast Conference guy, so I see them a lot.
You think Purdue can make it to the Final Eight?
Like he said, man, I don't see a lot in their way.
Exactly.
I don't like picking Purdue either. I think he dude's a little clumsy, but he makes it work. I don't see him being a good pro. I think he's just so big in college.
Oh yeah, he barely get drafted.
Yeah. It's just like you said, it's hard to pick against them until the Elite Eight.
I mean, I watched the Big Ten tournament this weekend, and all he does is get offensive rebounds and get fouled. Like he wasn't like dominating scoring. He's not like Jokic out there or anything like that.
Not at all.
He's just big.
He's super clumsy. He really is. I mean, he's just big.
Yeah. Alvin, who do you like out of that? Purdue or Tennessee?
I like Tennessee out of that. I think Tennessee has the athleticism to make it out of that bracket to the Final Four.
Yeah.
I just don't trust Big Ten teams. They let me down in the past.
Yeah. What do you think, Will? Duke or Gonzaga? Do they have enough to
No. It's hard to prepare for Edie, Like these Big Ten teams have been doing it for a while. I think Purdue is gonna pull it off. I mean, it's gotta be their year. Virginia a few years ago, they never could do anything, and then they won it. It might be one of those years where they finally break through.
Yeah,
I think they got the point guards.
I feel like they set it up for Purdue. They want to reward him for, two-time National Conference Player of the Year. Duke was in there, right? Duke. I don't like Duke at all this year, but like that is the one thing they have is bigs.
Yeah.
So if they wind up going against Purdue, they could win that because they have bigs and Filipowski can shoot the three. So if
Duke was in the South with Houston. In the Houston bracket.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Kansas maybe.
Up.
Kansas is in their bracket, right?
Yeah, that's right. They gave
Kansas is, but I don't see them being healthy.
Okay.
Yeah, Kansas has a big guy. I think Kansas played Purdue in preseason tournament when they were healthy. But if they're not, if they're missing their big, they have that big guy from Michigan who transferred.
Yeah.
At Kansas. Let's see
I
if
think Purdue's got the best chance out of all the best out of all the one seeds so far I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't get any of my sleeper teams. If you had given Purdue like FAU or any of these other teams, I like St. Mary's. We haven't seen them yet. These are like my deep sleeper picks, and Purdue didn't have to face any of them. They have a cakewalk there.
They do.
To the Final Four, but I don't know if they'll get by Tennessee. I'll have to really look and see who Tennessee has at center to match up with Edie if they can do anything at all. All right, well let's see what's happening in the West. We know it's going to be UNC. Should get the number one here. Get the volume back on.
To NCAA corporate champions and corporate partners for their ongoing support of the NCAA and NCAA student athletes throughout the year.
All right, welcome back. 3 brackets down.
Wow, these games are in Charlotte. Why is the Western region in
Right
Charlotte?
now, as they wait to see if their school makes it into the big dance, but that wait is now over. It is time for the final region of the tournament.
North Carolina's the 1 seed.
Corporate champions. They're going to the lower left.
It's the Western region.
No, it doesn't make sense. It hasn't for years, a lot of times.
Concede to Clark, he is absolutely right. The committee did not play well with Iowa State's poor non-conference schedule.
And so they are the 1 seed, and they are going to Charlotte, and they're also scouting on Tuesday night. Howard from the MEAC in for the 2nd straight year, and they will face Wagner, who's in for the first time since 2003. Just 7 healthy scholarship players as they won the Northeast Conference Championship. Also in Charlotte, also on Thursday, Mississippi State with Chris Jans coaching these guys. They are in at 21-13, facing the 9 seed, Michigan State and Tom Izzo.
Yeah, they kind of played.
Michigan State made it? I thought they were out.
Coming in late, so a little bit high.
They made it.
Team at number 9, but I think they're properly seated. The committee got that one right.
All right, in this region, we're caught up between 4 locations.
Yeah, I'm sure they did get that one right.
Spokane, we get the 5 seed, St. Mary's, West Coast Conference.
How does St. Mary's and Gonzaga get the same seed?
They're playing. Just came up 2 wins against Gonzaga this year, won the tournament. This is a great team with Matheny in the backcourt. Marcel.
Ooh, here's where it gets interesting.
Dangerous team in this tournament.
There'll be a lot of Gonzaga fans in the area, by the way. And they are going to face Grand Canyon.
The Lopes, the Animals. I tell you what, this team is tough.
Grand Canyon is another good
Back inside with
upset
St. Mary's,
pick.
and they also average 80 points a
Yeah,
game.
I hate seeing those little mid-major teams play each other like that.
Potentially, that is dynamic. This is going to be a heck of a matchup to lock into, folks.
Those 29 wins, a school record. The 4 seed going to Spokane. It's a cross-country flight for Alabama, who led the nation in scoring average.
That's a
with
tough
over
4
19
seed.
points a game.
Alabama.
13 seed. Maybe they could share a flight. Charleston on a 12-game winning streak, including the CAA championship. Don't let them get to 80. They're 20-0 when they do so. They go to the bottom half of the West Region games in Memphis, Tennessee, where the 6th seed on Friday is Clemson.
I didn't think Clemson was that good.
North Carolina, their first on the
I like New Mexico in that a lot.
50 years. And now they get to see who they're going to face. And that is the 11 seed, Richard Pitino's New
Rick
Mexico.
Pitino's son coaches New Mexico.
Yesterday on CBS.
I watched that game yesterday.
A feisty team.
Oh, I love them over Clemson.
28 points last night. Congratulations to the Lobos.
I didn't think the ACC would have that many
This
teams.
is the Baylor Bears. 6 players averaging double figures for these guys as they match up with the 14 seed Colgate Raiders, who won the Patriot League regular season and conference tournament championship game. Now we go to Salt Lake City for games on Thursday, where we find Dayton is in as the 7 seed.
Again, people describe Dayton as a bubble team. They went out early in the A10 tournament. A 7 seed is not a bubble team, folks. They were very safely in.
And Dayton will face in Salt Lake City, Nevada, who is in at 26-7. They get to celebrate.
That's the confetti.
That's how you like to see that confetti.
And now we just have 2 teams left to reveal. The 2 seed in the West region, destination LA, is Arizona, 3rd in the nation.
Oh, Arizona, they're always bad in
And
the
they won
tournament.
final Pac-12 regular season title.
Yeah, they were terrific all season long. Had a bump or 2 here, but this is a dynamic.
Yeah,
offensive
they got
team.
knocked off early in their conference there. I think that's a pretty easy bracket for North Carolina too.
Yep, very easy.
I like St. Mary's as a sleeper, but to get to Sweet 16, I like New Mexico as a sleeper in that bracket as well. That's a pretty easy bracket. Wow. Let's see if we can they'll have these brackets up live in just a minute here. I think we got them.
I like seeing major conference teams play those smaller conference teams. Here we have a bunch of smaller conferences playing each other, which is never any fun. You got St. Mary's, Grand Canyon, and then Dayton and somebody.
Yeah, I mean, it gives those mid-tier teams a chance to advance.
Mhm.
All right, so let's kind of look through this. We'll go in reverse order where we just went, although they don't have that one in there yet. Let's start here. So is this one we could fill out? Just kind of see what this would look like. This is not a
I know
fillable.
ESPN challenge doesn't start until 22 minutes.
22 minutes.
We might have a good memory, maybe.
Well, we've got them all on the screen here, right? You guys are seeing the screen now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think one of the things to think about, I was thinking about this today is, UConn is led by this transfer from Eastern Carolina, right? He leads them in points, rebounds, and assists. And he's the number one reason they're the number one team this year. And Tennessee is led by Dalton Connect. He's a transfer from small school. So I'm wondering, like, those two things as an example, and I would love to get your guys' takes on this. Those are like the players that normally would lead the upset from the small schools. But
Mhm.
nowadays, maybe those players transfer and are no longer at the small schools. And so, are we going to see it be a lot less of the small schools making upsets? What do you guys think about that as like an overall possibility? What do you think, Alvin?
I don't think that's going to be the case. Point in fact, the reason why McNeese is in here is because they got a TCU portal kid that's leading them in scoring and rebounding. That's really helping this team. So some of these small schools also have taken advantage of the portals and getting the leftovers of kids who been either bumped off of the big prime teams or for whatever reason want an opportunity to play right now as a starter.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a good point. For years, like the guys that were on the bench on North Carolina and, Kansas probably were better than a lot of players on these small teams, and they just never got to play. Now those kids leave and go to the small schools. So the small schools' best players are moving on, but those blue chip recruits are transferring to the smaller schools. I guess it's kind of a two-way street. What do you think about that, Jeremiah? You think we would have more or less or the same upsets now that we have the
I
train?
think about the same. You're just gonna get these magical moments in March. Anything can happen in a one game scenario. We've seen it a million times before. I think you're gonna keep seeing it. Uh, but the transfer portal is neat. It adds a little uniqueness to the sport. But it's
Yeah.
kind of hard also at the same time as like a fan of a team, there's your guy and he's gone. Um,
Mhm.
here in Kentucky, they all go to the NBA, but elsewhere it's hard getting used to the same guys on the team.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. You in Kentucky, you've been dealing with this forever. I wonder now, do the one and done teams, are they at kind of a disadvantage now that everybody's kind of doing what they've been doing for a long time?
Well, I think so for sure. I think you also don't see it as much recently. You're definitely seeing at least teams having one or two veteran guys that have been around for a while. I think that could be our problem going forward this year. Is the youth. We don't play a lot of defense, and Calipari used to be known for his defense, and that's not happening at all this year.
Yeah, Will, what do you think the impact of the transfer portal is going to be?
I mean, you're gonna have guys make a run and then they might leave. Like last year, few
Well, we
years
want
ago.
to talk about this tournament. So do you think there'll be more or less upsets in this tournament? We don't want to talk about them making a run.
Yeah, I think there's
What
gonna
happens
be
after?
just as many because there's a lot of unknown guys, you know? And then if they do something, they could leave, so developing could be hard. But there could
Yeah.
be some known, some guys nobody knows about that might leave to a Power Five after this year. I think that's always gonna be the case.
Yeah. And what about tournament experience? How important do you think that is? So, for example, this FAU team returned 4 out of 5 starters. The only guy they lost was a role player. They didn't have a great year. Does that give them a big advantage in this year's tournament? Or is that just they kind of caught lightning in a bottle last year? Um,
Coaching matters, you know? you look at Michigan State, they've made the Final Four so many years, and
Yeah,
coaching
coaching for sure
matters.
matter, but what about player experience? Do you think that
Mm,
matters?
Not as
I
much.
think it definitely. I'm sorry. I think it definitely matters, player experience, because one, the first time you make it in, you're just happy to be there. You're happy to win your conference. If you won a conference championship to get there, you celebrating that, and you're just happy to be there the first time. As returning juniors or seniors that have another opportunity or another shot at it, or a freshman or a sophomore that contributed to the team, it's a huge world of difference. Now your routine, you know what to expect, you know how to answer the media, you know all these different things, and when it comes down to the game, you can take care of business. I think experience for players makes a huge factor
Yeah, I
when
think
playing in the tournament.
this will be a great test of this, right? Because this FAU
Mhm.
team definitely is experienced, but can it make up for enough talent for them to go up against UConn? I for sure FAU was going to be one of my picks this year, but until you put them there, now it's like experience can only take you so far.
Well, I just think so. Like in those last few moments, those magical moments, the last 3 minutes of a ball game, and those talented teams who think they didn't hit you with every punch, those experienced kids returning that may not be as talented say, "Hey, I've been here before. We played in this game. We played and had this experience at this level," while the
Yeah,
other team might get tight.
You're
yeah,
always
that's
going
a
to have a
good
lot
point.
of no-name teams too, Alvin. Like, I mean, there's been so many teams that nobody expected, and it's their first time in the tournament, you know? Like, there's always
Yeah.
many teams like
Well,
that.
and I mean, realistically, like trying to predict that, like
Yeah.
predicting like the 12 seed to go to the final four is not a smart bet. Like you're not
Mhm.
probably going to win your tournament with that because if you pick wrong, then you lose all those points. You know, you're the way to usually win these tournaments is, you know, to play the odds, but also look for, you know, a few smart upsets. And we'll get more under the hood with specific games tomorrow. Because I will say this, from what I remember, FAU last year, I watched them a little bit this year. They have a 7-footer, so they've got a big guy that can match up with UConn's big guy, and I might be picking them to beat UConn. You know, one of the things with FAU is like because they made the Final Four last year, and every team that played against them in their conference like was gave their best game against them. So because they play in a conference with teams like USF here in Tampa and UAB and not great teams, but they got everyone's best game every night because that was like if you could knock them off, you know, for teams like USF and Tampa when they knocked off USF, FAU rather, that was huge for them, right? So I feel like that really, you know, helped them be more battle tested this year. Um, and I like Northwestern too, though. So that, but I think we heard Northwestern has some injuries. We'll have to get updates on all of this specifically here. So let's see if they, well, once ESPN will have theirs up and we can fill one out kind of together here as our initial bracket here. Let's go over to ESPN and just kind of get a consensus on what this might be. Of course, ESPN has their fun thing if you get it exactly right, right? I think it's $1 million prize. Starts
So
in
I don't think that's ever happened though. Is that correct? Like no one's
yes.
ever done it.
No, it's like something like crazy odds. It doesn't seem like it, right? There's only 64 teams. It shouldn't be that hard for someone to get it right, but no one's even gotten close.
Yeah.
All
Where do
these
they lose it? Like this, I mean, have
And
they
that's
made
for
it past
people
like the
filling out
first
40
round?
brackets.
exactly. Well, they allow, I think it's 25 per email. So you can technically you're only supposed to do 25, but
Do teams
still
make it past like the first round a lot or no?
there's a yeah, there's always somebody that gets the first round completely right.
Okay.
There's a really interesting article where they show you the history of like how somebody like picked it pretty close to the end one year and got like really close. They and they the guy he has they show like the top 10 people to ever get it right in this article, and the guy's on there 2 or 3 times. Like this one guy, like has been picking these things very, very well.
Well, let's
So
get him on the show.
I know, right? Speaking of people joining the show, Alex is jumping in, our Big Ten guy. Hey, let's have everyone go over to the YouTube chat and put into the YouTube chat who your national champion pick is at this point. And I'm also going to put the Zoom link there in the YouTube chat again, just in case anyone wants to hop up on Zoom and join us like we just saw Alex do. Let's put our national champion in here. I am sticking to my picks from last week. I'm not changing anything at this point based on the brackets. And going into last week, I was picking Houston over UNC. Kentucky, Iowa State. Man, they got a heck of a hard draw there, Alex. I mean, they to put all those teams together there, right? It was UConn, Illinois, Iowa State, FAU, who's like a trendy sleeper pick. Man, that bracket is as stuffed as it goes. I would have liked Iowa State and Illinois if they were put somewhere else. Purdue seems like they got a cakewalk. What do you think, Alex? You're our Big Ten guy.
Yeah, I mean, sorry I was a little late. I was looking for the Zoom link. I just got back from a Badger watch party. As you can see.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, you guys battled tough, but Illinois, Illinois.
That was one of the best basketball games I've seen of the year. Actually, it was. I'm a ref guy, Greg. I always complain about the refs. Can't complain this time. Illinois has got the best guard in the country, but Purdue, as I said, Greg, you're a ref, and this is one of my big takes is that I think Purdue can absolutely do some damage, but I mean if they don't have that call for Edey, 65% of his points have come from offensive rebounds and free throws this year. If they don't have that call, I look for them to be the first one seed to be upset.
Yeah, I would have agreed with you until I saw how they just laid it out for him, in my opinion.
That's true too. They have a favorable pathway.
I mean, I don't know much about Utah State or TCU. That's by far the easiest 8-9 game. There's no SEC team in there. There's no big team there. That's a cakewalk. If Kansas still has their injuries, I was not impressed with Gonzaga at all. That's like an easy path to the final 8. And then Tennessee, I like them, like they're scrappy on D, but they don't match up good with a big. So Connect drives in. Nice guy, Connect, we've been watching. He's 6'6" and lives driving into the hoop, but he's not going to be able to drive in there with Edey in there. So I think Purdue got a really favorable matchup here.
I'm only concerned with Creighton. Creighton's the only team to be worried about, I think.
I agree. Creighton's a team to look out for. I heard your talk about Northwestern, Greg. Northwestern still has those injuries, and I think Northwestern loses that first round game just because of injuries. Otherwise, I would like Northwestern. Otherwise,
I don't like their draw at all. I think, I think so I love FAU over Northwestern in that 8-9 there.
Real quick Big Ten analysis. I love Illinois. I do. And if we would go back to, I picked the Illinois Badger matchup in the humble brag, picked that in the Big Ten matchup. With Illinois winning, I think Illinois can make a deep run, and I think they do have a favorable matchup there with playing probably BYU, you would think. They're playing, I think BYU is up against Duquesne. That's an interesting matchup too, but I think Illinois goes, and I think that Illinois-Iowa State game, I'm going to take Iowa State to beat them, but I think Illinois makes the Sweet 16 for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that would be putting them in the final 8, right? Or you're saying they make the Sweet 16. Yeah, I'm not impressed with BYU at all. They got bounced early. I think BYU, BYU's record is impressive, but they got Kansas when Kansas was down. I think that's a pretty easy draw there for Illinois to get BYU. to go to the Sweet 16, but then it gets brutal. Then they got Iowa State. Washington State got knocked off early. I was not impressed with them. Drake, I watched Drake beat that Indiana State team that didn't
Yep.
get in, the goggle guy.
Goggles.
Yeah, I mean, that's not the goggle guy. Like, they are not good. And Drake, that's who Drake beat. So to me, Drake's not good either. Like, Drake was just a little bit athletic. That's not going to work against a Pac-10 team.
I think though, and I'm sorry, I logged on a little bit late. You might have talked about this, but right now what you have up that right there, Marquette's pathway is very favorable. And Marquette played UConn tough until that second half without Tyler Kolek, their best player. It looks like it'd be a Marquette. What would that be?
Is he coming back? What's the Marquette injuries update?
Kolek's coming back for the tournament. I think he was very 50-50 for that championship game, but I don't think if they won the championship, that doesn't favor them anyway. They're not getting a 1 seed. They're already the 2 seed.
Right.
So I think they rested him. You know, they battled UConn pretty well. I think Marquette's a good bet for the Elite Eight as well.
That's going to be, if it's Marquette Houston, I would love that matchup.
That's a great matchup.
I don't know. I don't think that's an easy draw at all. Florida, I watched all 3 of their games. They looked awesome until they just ran out of gas against Auburn today. I think Florida could give Marquette a battle.
That's the hardest bracket.
And then you'd have to play Kentucky after that. Like, those are tough games to even get to play Houston. What do you Jeremiah, let's hear from our SEC guy. What do you think of Marquette having to go through Kentucky and Florida?
I think Marquette's a really good team. I got them. I've quickly filled out a bracket while we've been sitting here, and I got Marquette playing Kentucky. And is that Sweet 16 or Elite 8? That's be Sweet 16. I think that's going to be a good matchup. Again, biased. I'm going to go with my guys. But the guard play at Marquette's exceptional. We got really good guards as well. Should be a close game, but again, sticking with the home team.
Marquette went down early last year.
Aka Smart, he hasn't won I don't think he's won a tournament game. He was, the VCU run right back in the day, and then he went to Texas. He didn't do shit at Texas, right? And then last year he went out early too for Marquette.
Yeah,
that's a good bet, Jeremiah. But just my only worry with Kentucky is just their youth, but we say that every year, right? Because they always put 3 guys in the NBA every year. So that's going to be a great matchup, and I'll be very curious to see what happens.
Yeah, and I think Kentucky will roll. NC State is going to be out of gas, and but I might be picking Florida over Marquette there.
You don't like the big boy from NC State, Greg? The big boy?
Oh, I love him, man. I loved him. But if you look at, I watched, as I was watching that game last night, I'm like, this guy is dominant. Why is their record so bad? And like, I flipped through their box scores, and like every other game, he'll have like 5 points. He must get in foul trouble or something. So I feel like he's like hit or miss. And I also feel like they won 5 games in 5 days. I think it's only the second time it's ever been done, NC State. And they just like, to me, that's like it. Like they just feel like they've accomplished so much. And it's their first time they've won the ACC since '87. Like, they're already hometown heroes. So they've got nothing left to, nothing left to play for, in my opinion. I don't see them beating Kentucky.
So I haven't seen him play. I haven't seen Texas Tech much. Does anyone have any information on Texas Tech? Could that be a potential 10-7 upset?
6. Well, Texas Tech is 6.
Or
right?
sorry.
And
Sorry,
State is 11. Yeah, we'll have to look that up. I mean, none of us, we all picked again BYU over Texas Tech in the Big 12 tournament, and Texas Tech won that. But to me, I think they're both pretty mediocre teams. It's I don't like either of those teams in the first round, Texas Tech or NC State. Maybe we pick State to win 1 game, but I really don't even want to do that.
So can I real quick, Greg, can I show my bias? What do we like if Wisconsin plays Duke?
Yeah, I mean, Duke Duke has not been good all year. The thing
Thank you,
with
Alvin.
the thing with Duke, and I mean, I don't know as much about Wisconsin, obviously, so you do. The thing with Duke is Filipkowski can play inside or come out and shoot the three. So if you can handle that, you can handle Duke pretty easy. Like, and for example, if they were playing Purdue, I'd actually pick Duke in that matchup because they won't be able to get out. Zach Edey's not going to be able to get out to the 3-point line to guard Filipowski. So that would be a horrible matchup, and Duke might win that. But other than that, I don't like Duke. Do you guys have somebody that can, a big that can guard like that?
Yeah, they have big white guy, Wisconsin, of course, the tailor-made big white guy from Wisconsin, Stephen Crowell. He will struggle on the perimeter if he has to play Philip, whatever his name is.
Filipowski, yeah.
Filipkowski, but they do have Stephen Crowell's 7 foot, and then they got Tyler Wall, who's 6'9". I'm not sure how tall Filipowski is, but
he's a 7-footer. He's a legit 7-footer who can shoot.
Yeah, so that'll be the matchup right there. But I don't think.
But 6'9" is big enough. If the 6'9" guy can move his feet and keep up with him, then that's big enough.
He's a pretty lean 6'9" guy. He can't shoot.
Yeah.
He's kind of a post player. But the thing I look at with the Duke matchup is Wisconsin's point guard Chucky Hepburn rated as the #1 on-ball defender in college basketball. So, I mean, if you take out Filipkowski and then you can take out, goodness, I forget the Duke guard who scores all the time. Escaping my. Anyways, I think that's a favorable matchup for Wisconsin.
I'm gonna hate this, Alex. Like, you don't think they got any shot, James Madison? That's not a good seed to play, man.
James Madison has an absolute shot to upset Wisconsin.
That's not a good 12 seed at all, brother.
This is a whole Davidson, Steph Curry, Wisconsin upset right now with James Madison. They can just fly from the 3-point line. I'm very worried about this first round game. I thought Wisconsin was going to be playing McNeese State instead, but
McNeese, we heard Alvin gave us a good take on McNeese too, but also the announcers picked James Madison to the Sweet 16. So I don't know. We'll look under the hood at that some more. To me, if you're going to be a Davidson, like if you're going to pull an upset, you need to have a superstar like they had Curry, right? It's not just like when the whole team is like good at shooting the three, that usually doesn't work for an upset. It's like one star player just kind of takes over and leads the upset. In my opinion, that's how these upsets happen.
The thing with that Davidson Wisconsin upset though was Curry was good for Davidson the whole year, but then he really blossomed in that tournament, and he absolutely lit everyone up. And then the rest was history. Right now, he's one of the best shooters in the world ever. So hopefully that doesn't happen again.
But I mean, he was clearly their star player that whole season. He wasn't, and he took it to another level in the tournament. That's what if we look at James Madison's stats and they're like a balanced team that shoots the threes, that's not as threatening as there. But I think I've got Wisconsin going to the Sweet 16. You know, and playing Houston there. Nebraska, A&M. A&M, you know, had a nice run in the SEC tournament. Jeremiah, did you lay any eyes on Texas A&M this year? Do you think they can win a few games?
No, they can, but I'm they're in that Wisconsin draw. I got them winning the first. Actually, they would play Houston in the second round. I don't like that at all.
Yeah. Has anybody did Houston getting blown out by Iowa State? Is that a factor for anybody?
It is for me.
No, I really think it's a bad game. You have those. And if you're a fan of Houston, better get it out of the way in the conference tournament before the real tournament starts.
What do you think, Alex?
So yeah, that's a good point, Jeremiah. How do we feel about you see some of these experts, they say, you know, like Purdue losing early, or well, not early. Well, for them, it's early in the Big Ten tournament. Is that kind of like a wake-up call for the NCAA tournament? Is that kind of like a kick in the ass, right? That's kind of a point to bring up. I don't know how that works. I should look up that historical
Well, I
We
mean,
need-
just
yeah.
look at last year. UConn got knocked off last year, right? Marquette won the Big East tournament. Everyone was down on UConn last year. Um, you know, so and that's similar to Marquette with Shaka. Like Danny Hurley had never won a conference and March Madness game last year with UConn.
Something that's interesting, and I don't know, I might be way off on this. Those two seeds, UConn and Houston, do they really have like a superstar NBA talent? Like, I might be way off. Like, I don't know. I just know they're a good team. You know? Do they have a really good player? One of you
Well,
guys
usually the teams that win the national championship typically have a few NBA players, but not they're not usually carried by the top player in the country. Alabama, case in point, last year,
Yeah.
they had the number one player in the country and got knocked off. Like the best player usually doesn't make it all the way.
They do have a few NBA guys, though.
Yeah,
Okay.
but they need to have a few solid NBA guys. So yeah, we'll have to look under the hood. I mean, I know they have a 7-footer. He won't play in the NBA. I don't, at least not in my opinion. There's no place for 7-footers who can't shoot, jumpers in the NBA. So they have him. They just have a lot of guys though at UConn. They have a lot of guys
Same
that can
with
make
Houston.
shots. All right, so the last bracket we haven't really looked at tonight is this West bracket. Carolina has their 2 stars, Baycott and Davis, back from the Final Four team 2 years ago. I was really impressed with Carolina last weekend when they won at Duke. That's an insanely hard place to play in rivalry, and Duke shut down Baycott and Davis. Yet the rest of that Carolina team made shots and carried them, and they won the game pretty easily. After seeing that last weekend, I was like, I am now picking Carolina to the Final Four unless they get a bad draw. And I feel like they actually got a pretty easy draw here. Let's take a look at this. So Mississippi State, you should never pick against Michigan State, right? We've all been burned by them plenty of times. And they're the ones that knocked out Zion when they were a number 1 seed, so they could go on a run at any point. So that's still as easy as it's going to get for Carolina there. I like St. Mary's a lot. When they handled Gonzaga in the championship game, I was really impressed with them. But Alabama's a tough draw in the second round. I like both those teams.
Greg, I would have to agree with you with St. Mary's. Again, I like guard play or I like heavy defense. And St. Mary's has both. But the thing is with St. Mary's is they never have that athleticism, right? They don't have that guy who's a stud athlete. You look at Illinois, they have Terrence Shannon Jr. You look at Houston, they have Jamal Shed. They don't have that over-the-top athlete. But St. Mary's just a well-coached team. Again, this is going to be a really tough tournament, I think, to pick all around just based on the draws.
Yeah, St. Mary's, just like you said, they don't have the superstar athletic or, the 4-star, even 5-star recruit. But they do play well. They have a big who played well in that game. I only watched the one game, the championship game against Gonzaga. And the big played well. The guard, they had 2 guards. One of them is Marshallonis, if you guys remember that player from the Golden State Warriors. It must be his kid. He was just dry. I mean, they were dry. They weren't like hitting threes. They were driving it in on Gonzaga very impressively. Not super athletic, but better than Gonzaga's guys by far. So I see them definitely advancing here. I mean, I wanted to pick them to make a run, but I feel like that's a tough matchup for them. Alabama's going to be all athletes.
What do you think about Izzo's Michigan State Spartans getting that? That's a favorable spot they got. I thought they were going to be in the play-in.
Yeah, I didn't think they would make it at all. I don't know how. I mean, their record is what? Like they have like 14 losses. Right, whereas does this show anything on them here? I guess we can't click into these yet, but yeah, I didn't think they would. Oh, it started to fill out there. Oops, that's not what we want. I didn't think they were even going to make it, but I won't bet against Izzo. No, I'm just on coaching. I'm willing to take him over the SEC for at least one round. I don't think he'll get past North Carolina. Let's look at the bottom half of this bracket. This is, to me, these are all, Arizona always seems to get upset early. Baylor got upset early last year as a 3 seed. I think they're vulnerable. I don't like Clemson at all. I didn't even think Clemson should get in, and they're a 6 seed. Like that's really surprising to me. And I love New Mexico. They're that's Rick Pitino's son's team. They just won that Mountain West conference that everyone was kind of.
So I didn't get a chance to look at bracketology, but did St. John's make it? Because if they did they make it?
No.
So basically, I think Pitino's son eliminated his dad from winning that conference tournament. So that's a great story.
Well, they won their tournament, but yeah, they might have been the team that was surprised winning the tournament, bounced them out.
The Mountain West is a surprise.
They beat San Diego State in the conference tournament championship game. I was very impressed with them. San Diego State has a big man who's like, looks like The Rock. And he was making all his free throws. Like, that guy was a beast. And he was on that San Diego State team last year that made to the Final Four. So, and New Mexico handled them nicely.
They had 6 teams get in, Greg, which is crazy. The Mountain West. And then the Big East had 3.
They didn't get very good seeds though, the Mountain West teams. From what I can see so far. I mean, this was their winner.
The Big East only had there's no way the Big East only had 3 teams, really?
Yeah.
That's incredible. Wow.
Creighton, Marquette,
UConn,
yeah.
Yeah, Seton Hall and Providence were bubble teams.
Wow.
They both have NBA prospects on those teams, but
they do. Multiple.
Yeah, so they didn't make it.
It looks like Oklahoma was a big surprise. Everyone's talking about.
Yeah, they have NBA prospect, at least one as well. But Oklahoma, they were like a 10 seed in the Big 12 conference. So
are you feeling good about Tennessee, Greg, or no? Or I guess Jeremiah as well.
I'll let Jeremiah answer first.
Yeah, my quick bracket, I had Tennessee in the Final Four. I'm looking at the again, favorable bracket. Purdue. I think they can beat Purdue. Purdue's pretty much got Edey. That's it. Clumsy guy, but I mean, he gets a lot of foul calls. I thought the interesting stat you gave Alex was 65% of his makes were offensive rebounds or foul shots. That's interesting. If they can keep from that, I like Tennessee in the Final Four.
Yeah, I'll say I was really disappointed in Tennessee last weekend. They lost at home to Kentucky, and I knocked them down significantly. Up until that point, I was loving them. Right, we watched them beat Auburn decisively the week before. So one game's maybe too much, but I don't think they match up with Purdue very well. I just don't think Purdue can make it that far. If Purdue plays Tennessee, I would pick Purdue over that, but I really don't want to pick Purdue. They just aren't giving me anybody that I could like. Like who could I latch onto here for an upset? And if Purdue gets knocked off, then Tennessee's got like a great run at it. Maybe Creighton. Maybe I got to look closer at Creighton.
Could Texas be that team that gets 1 or 2 seed out early? They have no chance against.
I've heard nothing good about Texas all year. I didn't even know they were in line to make it in. I literally heard nothing about Texas basketball.
I like looking at that. When you got a major conference team like a Big 12 or one of those major.
Did they play in the SEC this year?
They're in the Big 12.
Are you sure they're moving to the SEC?
Maybe no, I don't think they're in the SEC, but you see all the 7 seeds I think are from a smaller conference. So that might be the pick if you're looking for an upset. Because Texas
to the SEC next
year. Yeah. So Texas wasn't here this year.
They played in the Big 12 this year.
I mean, I would rather pick a major conference team, I think, over a 2 seed like
Well, I
that.
for sure don't like Virginia. And who else is over here? Colorado State. I was surprised Virginia got in. They put too many ACC teams in here, and they picked the wrong ones. Wake Forest and Pitt, to me, are better than Virginia and Clemson.
They said there were a lot of like teams that shouldn't have won the conference tournament win it. I don't know much about that though, but that's what they were saying. They said a lot of surprise teams won the conference tournaments this year and stole bits.
Yeah. What happened to Creighton in the Big East tournament? Does anybody didn't they just lose to like Seton Hall or somebody? They're very susceptible to an upset. I feel like they but I don't know what I'm gonna pick in that bracket. I don't really like any of those teams. Purdue or Tennessee or Creighton. Well, all right. Well, this was a good intro for us on a Sunday. Go ahead, Alvin. Did you have something else?
I got Creighton losing in the round of 32 to South Carolina.
South Carolina.
I don't trust Creighton make it to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, they did make it last year. We'll have to look closer at that tomorrow. So tomorrow night we're gonna do our deep dive into each of these teams. We'll look up their records, their players, try to get some research before then if everyone wants to start bringing any research. Obviously, we've got until Thursday. We're gonna have our own tournament. I'm gonna see if our sponsors can donate some prizes so we have stuff to play for, and we'll be filling out our own brackets. We're going to be on this week at 9 o'clock. We're just trying different times. Last week we tried 8. This week we're going to try 9 p.m. Eastern, except for Wednesday, because Alex Milwaukee Bucks play my Celtics at 7:30. So we'll do that game at 7:30. And we'll be doing lots of tournament analysis tomorrow. And then on Thursday and Friday, we'll be here live at 9 to watch the games. Our best viewed episode of all time was when we did the 10 o'clock game on a Friday night. That was a Lakers game a week or so ago. So the later right now seems to be getting better views. So,
Greg, that was actually a Bucks game, not a Lakers game.
Lakers Bucks, yeah.
Texas has Max, the guy from Oral Roberts, Max Abrams. That's super crazy. I didn't even know he was still in the league. The guy from Oral Roberts who balled out. He's
still balling out. Still balling out.
Yeah.
So, and we'll cover Lakers. We'll cover Bucks Celtics 7:30 on Wednesday. Tuesday night, we are going to cover NBA as well because there's a great matchup. It's Minnesota and Denver, which could be Western Conference Finals preview. We'll cover that Tuesday night. Tomorrow night will be focused on college basketball, and as always, we'll fit in some football. We're going to talk Justin Fields, man. We'll get into that tomorrow as well. What a shocker. So
crazy.
Didn't see that coming.
Great seeing you guys on a Sunday. Enjoy your St. Patrick's Day, and we'll be on tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern.
See you guys.
Yeah, have a great.
All right, guys. See you then.